Okay, listen. If you're new here, hi, welcome. Have very low expectations for me following through on video projects. Back in September, it was September 12th of 2019, I put out a 5-star predictions video, and this is the follow-up. December of 2020, so it took me over a year to put this together. But I finally have read there were 6 books on that list, and I have read all of them, and I am here to talk about them, as well as give you 5 more 5-star predictions for books that please don't expect to hear about again for a year, because that's how I run my channel. So let's just start by talking about the 6 books that I had on my previous 5-star predictions and what I thought of them. So the first one on that list was Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This book I gave 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I listened to the audiobook and read the physical book at the same time, and I thought that was a good experience. I think that's a good way to go into at least the first one, but I also said when I was talking about this book in a wrap-up that I probably wouldn't do the same thing for the next ones, and I have not continued on in this series yet. I do intend to, but I haven't quite yet. I think for the other 2, I will probably just listen to the audiobook. I think the physical book is interesting to look at if you've never read like a kind of like interesting formatted book before, but it kind of wears off by the end of this book. You're like, okay, I get it. I just want the story. At least for me, that's how I felt about it. So this is basically, everybody I feel like would know what this is, but it's a science fiction, like a young adult science fiction book about, we're following these 2 teenagers who end up on separate, like different ships running away from, I don't even remember, was it the planet that they were on got invaded or something? But then there's like a sentient AI, and it's an interesting read, and I did give it 4 stars, so I did enjoy it. But I mean, I also haven't continued on in the series yet, so I don't know. But I'm going to. Eventually I will read the other ones, but this was not a 5-star for me, it was a 4-star. Okay, next on the list was Well Met by Jen DeLuca. This was a 5-star for me. I really enjoyed this book, and this is one, it takes place at a Renaissance fair, and it's a hate to love romance between our 2 main characters, and I understand why people didn't really love this book, but at the same time, I loved this book. It was one of my favorite books. I think it was in my top 5 books from last year that I read, and it was all about when I read it. So it takes place at a Renaissance fair, like I said, and I read it right after, I believe. It was right around the time that I went to a Renaissance fair. So I was already in that mood, and like I got all the vibes from it, like from my own experience at the Renaissance fair. So it was all about timing for this book. I loved this book, but I also appreciate the fact that I loved it more than most people just because of when I read it. But yes, so this was a 5-star. So the third book on the list was Twice in a Blue Moon by Christina Lauren. This book, I had such high hopes for this book. This was like one of my most anticipated books of, I think, 2018. Did it come out in 2018 or was it 2019? It was one of my most anticipated, no, I think it came out last year. It was one of my most anticipated books of that year, and I didn't read it until this year. That's what it is. It came out in 2019, but I didn't read it until this year. And I was so disappointed. Like, I loved the first 2 Christina Lauren books that I read, which was Jocelyn Hazel's Guide to Not Dating and The Unhoneymooners. I loved both of those books. So I had really high expectations for this one. And then it was really, really good for like the first half. And I thought it was going to be a 5-star, and I was really into it. And then the switch happens. Like, we jump ahead in the timeline, and I just did not like it at all. Like, I almost didn't finish it because I hated the second half of this book so much. So I mean, in the end, I gave it 3 stars, but I think it was kind of a low 3-star, and really those stars were just for the first half of the book, and the whole second half of the book was like 1-star trash. I hated it, so there's that. The next book on the list was Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. Do we know how to pronounce that last name? I don't. If you do, let me know, because I butcher it every time, I'm sure. This book was a 4-star for me. I haven't picked up the second one yet, so if that says something about it, I feel like this was more, I enjoyed it while I was reading it, but I'm not 100% convinced that I'll ever continue on in the series. This was another kind of hate to love, where we have a witch who, through circumstances and for reasons, has to marry a witch hunter, and you just kind of follow their story. The main character, I liked her attitude. I enjoyed the relationship between the two characters. The end of this book, I read this so long ago. The end of this book got a little weird for me, but I enjoyed it while I was reading it. I don't really remember it. I have a really bad memory when it comes to books. Like, I can read a book and absolutely love it, and then if you ask me what it was about the next day, I'll just be like, it was good. So I don't know why I even bother with BookTube, having a BookTube channel and trying to talk about books, because I don't remember anything about them. But yeah, I enjoyed it while I read it. It was a 4-star read for me, but I also haven't continued on with the series, so there you go. The next book on this list is Dance of Thieves by Mary E. Pearson. I really enjoyed this book. It was another 4-star, so it wasn't a 5-star for me, but I really enjoyed being back in this world. I love her writing. Like, I just really enjoy Mary E. Pearson's writing and her form of storytelling. I wasn't like 100% sold on the story here. Yeah, I don't know. It was really good. I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't like the most amazing thing. Like, it didn't, not to say it didn't hold up to the Remnant Chronicles, which is the trilogy that this follows, kind of. Like, that's the world this is in. But it's kind of that, like, the original is sort of always gonna be better. And so, like, I really enjoyed this, but I loved those books. So this was good, but it was just, like, not quite on the Remnant Chronicles level for me. That being said, I am going to continue. I haven't read Vow of Thieves yet. Is that the name of it? Vow of Thieves? Yes? I haven't read that yet, but the only reason I haven't read it is because it's not out in paperback yet. It doesn't come out in paperback until January, and I want to own it, and I want them to look the same and be the same on the bookshelf next to each other. So that's the only reason I haven't read it yet. I am super excited to finish off this duology and, you know, finish up in this world. But yeah, I don't really have anything else to really say about this book. I enjoyed it. I liked it. And even though it wasn't a 5-star, I think it definitely belongs on this list, this 5-star predictions list, a book that's not 5 stars. It's one of my favorite books that I've read this year, probably. So it belongs on some sort of pedestal. I really enjoyed it, and I'm excited to continue on in the series. And the last book on that list is a bit... Okay, I don't really know what to do about this book, because technically I only gave it 4 stars, but then I gave the other 2 books in the series 5 stars, and I've said over and over again on this channel that I think I want to change my rating to a 5-star because of things that I learned and, like, the way I feel about the characters in the following books, if that makes sense. And that is The Lies of Locke Lamora. This is one of my favorite series of all time. So the fact that I didn't give the first book 5 stars, what is wrong with me? So when I read this book the first time, obviously I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. But I also didn't quite get the relationships between the characters that grow so much more in the other 2 books that are currently out. It's going to be a longer series, but there's 3 of them out so far. And like knowing those relationships now, I feel like if I reread the first book, it would be a definite 5-star. And that's why I'm kind of like, maybe I should just change my rating to 5-star. But at the same time, I want to be kind of true to that rating. And that's what I rated it at the time that I read it. So I'm going to say this one is a 5-star book, even though I technically only gave it 4 stars, because the series as a whole is a 5-star series for me. And it is one of my favorite series of all time. So it gets like an honorable mention of being a 5-star book. So that's all I'm going to say about that. If you haven't read the Gentleman Bastard series, what are you doing? You need to read it. It's amazing. I love it. And yeah. So that's it for the 6 books that were on my previous 5-star predictions. That's my follow-up. We're done with that part. Let's get into my new predictions. Hopefully it won't take me over a year to do the follow-up for these books. The first one is probably pretty obvious given my reading taste the past year. No, I can't really say that though because I haven't really made videos in 6 months. The first one is probably going to be pretty obvious, and that is Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. I'm currently in the middle of Oathbringer, but overall, I think so far it's a 5-star series for me, so I can only imagine that I'm going to absolutely love Rhythm of War when I finally get to it. I might be waiting for a while for that one because right now I'm on hold from my library, and it says at least 6 months until I get it. So, I mean, maybe if I'm really blown away by Oathbringer and I just like have to continue, maybe I'll go out and buy it or something. But as of right now, I'm going to be waiting for that one for a little while. But yeah, I've really been enjoying that series so far. So I have really high hopes for the newest installment. Okay, after that, I have Jade City by Fonda Lee on here. I don't really know anything about it. I think it's Asian-inspired fantasy. I'm not 100% sure, but the main reason this one is on here is obviously I don't know anything about it, so I'm not judging by the synopsis or anything, but so many people on BookTube and, you know, Goodreads and stuff that I follow and have similar tastes to and really trust their opinions of books have absolutely loved this series so far. So I just have really high hopes for it. And I almost kind of want to go into it blind, so I'm probably not even going to look up a synopsis. I'm just going to trust that people that I follow know what they're talking about when they say that this is a really good book and a really good series. So yeah, Jade City by Fonda Lee is number 2. Okay, the third book on this list is Queen of the Tearling by Erica Johansson. I've been meaning to read this for a really long time. I probably bought this like a year ago. So what I remember about this book is it's about a queen who was either exiled or like hidden away when she was young, and it's her birthday, 19th, 20th, some birthday, and she has to go back to her kingdom and try to like regain power or like take it back or something. I've heard lots of good things about this book. I've heard the first one is really good, and then I've heard the other 2 books in the trilogy are kind of not as great. So I'm not really sure how to feel about that, but I've been really excited to read this for a long time, so it's on this list. I think I'm really going to enjoy it, and yeah, hopefully I'll read it soon. Okay, the next book on this list is, okay, so those 3 were, I believe, is Jade City fantasy or is it sci-fi? I don't even know that much about it. But we're moving kind of into fantasy romance. And the next book on this list is Fortuna Sworn by KJ Sutton. It was described as like a more adult ACOTAR type book. And I love the ACOTAR series. So like that's right up my alley with taste in books. So that's basically all I had to know about it. It follows a girl who has some sort of power that like her and her brother are the only 2 left in the world with it. And she's something about a fae. So she has this power, and then there's a fae king or prince or something involved. And yeah, that's the kind of trash that I enjoy reading. So I think I'm going to rate it highly. We'll see. I don't know that much about it, but it sounded really good. It sounds like just like a trashy fae time. And then the last book on this list is Paper Princess by Erin Watt. This is, I believe, a new adult romance. It follows a girl who I don't know if her parents die or what, but she ends up living with a benefactor, and he has like all these hot sons or something, and it's new adult, so it's gonna be a trashy good time. And I've just heard so many things about this that make me think that I'll really enjoy it. Will I? We'll find out in my follow-up for this video. But yeah, it sounds like a good time. I want to read it. It's been on my shelf for quite a while. So yeah, that's it. I had one actual 5-star book, one that is an honorary 5-star book, and then my lowest rated was the 3-star, and then a lot of 4 stars. So, I mean, I kind of know my taste when it comes to books. I have a decent handle on what I like because I got a lot of 4 stars, but hopefully this round will be more successful and I'll have even more 5 stars. Isn't that what we hope? I mean, you don't go into a book hoping you'll hate it. You go into a book hoping that you'll absolutely love it. Here's hoping that I have a lot of 5 stars. All right, so that's it for this video. Let me know if you have any books that you're hoping are 5 stars, or if you've read any good 5-star reads lately. And I might enjoy them because I'm always looking for good books, obviously. I hope you're all staying safe and healthy, and I will see you next time. Bye.